The lack of gratitude is the biggest blessing blocker there is. Rachel Ausbern and Jenifer Oxford join us to tell their stories of addiction, camaraderie, and recovery, and the lessons they have learned. They share their experience, strength, and hope. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Illuminate Recovery podcast. We shed light on mental health issues, mental illness, and addiction recovery. Ways to cope, manage, and inspire. Beyond the self-care we will discuss, you may need the help of a licensed professional. My name's Kurt Nider. I'm a husband, a father, entrepreneur, a handyman, and a student of life. I avoid conflict, I deflect with humor, and I'm fascinated by the human experience.
And I'm Shelley Mangum. I am a clinical mental health counselor, and my favorite role of all times is grandma. I am a seeker of truth, and I feel like life should be approached with tremendous curiosity.
I ask the dumb questions.
I fill in the gaps.
The Illuminate Recovery podcast is brought to you by Illuminate Billing Advocates. Make billing and collection simple with leader in substance abuse and mental health billing services. Verification and analysis of benefits, pre-authorizations, utilization management, accurate claim submission and management, denial and appeal management, and industry-leading reporting. Improve your practice's cash flow and your ability to help your clients with Illuminate Billing Advocates.
So how do y'all know Rachel?
I met her on LinkedIn.
I LinkedIn stalked her, and she said,
Really?
"Yeah, I'll do a podcast." So I'm just anybody. So the people that are on the podcast have to be fairly social people, because if I request and ask somebody to do a podcast and they're not, like, they won't even respond to me. So when you have someone fun that you get to talk to, because they'll respond and say, "Oh, I'm all about that. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I will do a podcast."
All about that life. Let's go.
Well, I just said yes. She said, "Hey, you want to do it?" I said, "Yes." I don't even know what we're doing, but let's do it, girl.
Why not?
You got your cousin with the alcohol bottle in her hand in the background.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's my niece. She's really not one of us, though. She's probably the only normal person in my family.
It's just funny.
That is funny.
It's okay.
That is super funny.
I had one of Carter's porcelain baby dolls in the back, and I was doing some Zooms. And it was just like the closet was open. It was in there. You could see it in the back. I'm like, these people probably think I'm some weird person that hides babies in the closet. And they probably think it's real because they're like reborn. So they look real. I'm like, that's creepy.
Real.
So I brought it out and I introduced it.
Oh, there you go.
Why not?
Well,
Which is creepier, hiding babies in your closet or bringing them out in the middle of the podcast to show them off?
Probably the hiding.
Yeah, there
I'd
you
like
go.
to cover all bases.
Now, if I would have started bringing like all of them out and changing their diapers and shit.
That's some stuff
great.
you see on YouTube, though.
I know.
Weird. People are strange.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's not just me, because my kids will show me stuff, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what did you just show me, and why would they do that and show people that? Why?
Talk about creepy. They have tags that lead them down this dark hole. That is scary.
Ooh.
Yep.
Children on YouTube. Yeah.
That's too
Hide
bad.
your children. Hide your wife.
Had
Hide their
everyone.
life.
Just stay off of there.
A monitor. Yeah.
Oh, it's
I
scary.
didn't have that. I didn't have the iPad babysitter.
No, well, when I
didn't
grew
have
up,
iPhones.
there was none of that. We didn't have phones. We didn't, I remember it was so cool, because on the TV we would have the blip
go.
game, and it would just be this ball that would go back and forth like tennis, right? And you would try and keep it from going over. That was the coolest game we ever had.
Frogger.
Yeah.
The Atari.
Yeah, right?
Look, here we are. Back in my day, we had to walk the street.
Back in the day, uphill both ways in the snow, barefooted.
Yeah. My grandma really did say that.
This guy in AA the other day, he said, and he's an old timer. He has like 50 plus years. He said, you know what? Back then we had the AA hard times where we had to walk with big books on our feet up in the snow to the AA groups. That's how hardcore it was.
Uh-huh.
And now it's not like that anymore.
That's
It was just pretty cool how he.
A different culture. Kurt, how are you involved with Miss Shelley and Rachel?
It's their podcast, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Shelley and I's podcast, and we run, so it's called the Illuminate Recovery Podcast, but we run a company called Illuminate Billing. So we're billers. We're stuck in the boring part. So the podcast was a way for us to actually get to be a part of the community.
Oh, that's cool.
Get to actually talk about recovery sometimes. And she and I both have our stories, and so
Yes.
gives us the ability to make connections and
That's awesome.
not be stuck being billing nerds all the time.
That's right.
Just most of the time.
There's a place for everybody, like social workers. I don't know how they do it. Nope.
Oh. Yeah, this
I'm a nurse,
fills
but-
fills my social bucket, so I can talk to people and hear their stories. I love hearing people's stories, because that's what spreads the word of hope. So we love that.
Amen.
I love it.
sister. Yeah.
So our podcasts are pretty like I said, we always start out with how did you end up in this industry, right? Because I can guarantee you didn't dream about it when you were a kid and say, yeah, I'm going to be in substance abuse or I'm going to be in recovery. Like nobody does that. Excuse me. And I am just getting over a cold. Every now and then you might watch me leave the screen and Kurt just takes over while I go cough and get it out, and then nobody knows.
Hacking on a bone.
And the other thing too is we don't use the video. Typically we don't use the video. We just use the audio, but we like to have two forms of recording. So I'm actually watching our sound and trying to get it just right now. And Kurt will start the recording on our video, but we'll just be using the audio for it. So, so just to put you at ease. And we could have.
Oh no, you're using the video though, so we're
We
good.
could have made y'all some money with our looks.
There you go. Right. There you go. Well,
All
and
we need is some really good quotes. That's our prompt to start cutting out those little sections of video and throwing them out there.
Yeah.
On whatever you put them on. TikTok. You want to get TikToked?
I don't even know how to do it.
Say a good
My
quote.
daughter's on TikTok, but I don't know it.
I'm not on it either, but LinkedIn. We'll land you on LinkedIn with a good quote.
there you go.
Yep, land you on LinkedIn. That's good. And I get on LinkedIn more than I do anything else.
Yeah. Well, and,
Honestly,
Same.
way better.
yeah, LinkedIn's, it's more on the professional side. I can't,
I love
people
it.
aren't asking me to be their friends. They're asking me to be their professional associate relationship, right?
Whoever thought, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thunk?
You want me to be professional? What? Anyway, if we happen to get an error message, if your dog barks in the background or the ambulance goes by, then we'll just pause and then Kurt will make a note cutting out this part. So that's easy. So don't worry about that. And I have requested that Rachel give me a little bit of a bio on both of you. So I'll do those brief introductions and then we'll just jump in and it'll just be fun.
Okay.
Yep. I was driving to work in the rain. She's like, "Hey, I need a bio real quick." I'm like, "Okay." Go.
I don't know what you're doing, but
Sound good.
I'll give you one. So that's what we'll do.
Make one up. It'll be more fun.
You guys have any other questions?
No, but nobody better come in this door.
Well, but see, that's the beauty. It actually something that looks on that. It's probably not the door. It's probably a closet, but it always looks like somebody's head is peeking right there and looking at you.
Oh, look, somebody did come in.
Yeah. Nobody better come in, and there we go, right?
Hold on one second. Like an Arabic system? The plumbing. Because it's pouring torrential down rain over here.
Arabic. Did she say Arabic or aerobic?
Aerobic.
Aerobic. Is that aerobic rain?
I'm about to say Arabic. Huh?
Shush.
All right. Rachel Ausbern. Yes.
Yes.
Rachel
Hi.
Ausbern, Jenifer Oxford. Okay. Now I put it in my head, but I'll guarantee as soon as I try and say it, I might mess it up. So just correct me. Sometimes I put Kurt's name in there, and so we just have to watch what I say because it's it's never the same twice. All right, I'll do these little intros, and then we'll just jump in. It'll be fun.
Okay, sounds good.
Kurt and I have got Rachel Ausbern and Jenifer Oxford with us today. That wasn't my best English, but we're going to go with it anyway. Rachel is the co-owner of Legacy House Sober Living and at Legacy House Sober Living. Rachel is a long-term recovery. She is active in the recovery community. She's been working in the field since 2016. She started working in sober living and currently is a part owner of the program for Direct. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna have to start over, you guys. Whew. There's just some
I think
days.
when you said where Rachel works too, you said the same place twice.
Yeah, I did, and I'm
Okay.
gonna take that part out because it just
Jennifer gonna introduce me.
Let's see. See, I read these back so that I can, but then we get talking and I forget. Okay. Rachel Ausbern and Jenifer Oxford are with us today. Kurt and I are excited to talk to them. Rachel is the co-owner of Legacy House Sober Living. She is in long-term recovery, and she is active in the recovery community. She's been working in the field since 2016. She started working in sober living and is currently a co-owner and a program director of Women's Sober Living House in Spring, Texas. She also does business development for a detox center in Houston, which is the Serenity House Detox. Jenifer, who I think this is pretty cool, is sober 2,008 days. Woo! Like, that's something to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
She's a historian, professional in the medical dialysis field right now. For the last 17 years, she's for 21 years serving as a licensed nurse. She's currently a college student, mother of one charming 22-year-old Hunter, and she's an eternally grateful woman in recovery who will remain available for any opportunity to share hope with anyone battling addiction. It's so exciting to have you guys today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
That's why we're here. Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, it's fun, and I know we've been doing pre-show talk a little bit. I know you two are pretty fun, and you're very connected. You've been friends for a long time, so that's exciting. And you're both have connections to the recovery world. Kind of sounds like some recovery stories of your own. So maybe let's just start by kind of getting some background. Rachel, you start and just maybe share how you ended up in the recovery world and in sober living world. Kind of give us some background.
Of course. Hi guys, it's Rachel, and so glad to be here. I didn't really come in here on a winning streak, I'll tell you that. In 2015, I kind of hit a bottom. You know, I am an alcoholic. I kind of realized I knew it all along, but I finally was able to admit it in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I did go to treatment in Arizona in 2015, and therefore after treatment for 30 days, I went to sober living. And there is where I fell in love with the sober living, the whole thing, you know, everything, the community, the fellowship, the women, just everything about it. That helped me stay sober. And moved back home at the end of 2015, and I had an actively drinking ex-husband who was really, really like at a bottom. And for me to continue my recovery, I just stayed plugged into AA and plugged in. I kept going to meetings, several meetings a day, staying very dedicated in the fellowship. And I got offered a job when I was 9 months sober, and that was at a sober living as a program director. So I started that in Magnolia, Texas, and I worked there for a few years, and I helped him build that. Fell in love with it. And then in 2019, I was working for a doctor's office, and I was in real estate school. And a friend of mine, actually my sponsor at the time, she asked me if I could help her, you know, kind of start this program. She opened up a sober living, so I helped her start it and build that. I did that, and then I ended up kind of tossing over my real estate and kind of took over doing that. And I fell in love with it, again, helping women, because I suffered so bad in my alcoholism. It got really, really bad for me. And then about 6 months ago, I started working in business development. And I've been with Serenity House Detox for about 5 months, and I love, love, love it. So I kind of do both. I want to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope. I went through a lot of heartache and pain, a divorce. I remained sober. Before treatment, I got down to 97 pounds. I was throwing up blood. I was driving with my daughter in the car. I was showing up to her school intoxicated. I was waking up at 6 a.m. drinking, going to sleep drunk. It was a constant drinking for me. It was never stopping. By the grace of God, I've never been in trouble with the law, DWI, DUI. I never lost anything materialistically. But my significance of something being lost for me was myself. That was significant enough. And it was absolutely terrible. I felt awful. So I was willing to go through any lengths, and I did, and I had the willingness. So I did that, and I just kind of took off since, and I'll have 6 years of sobriety next month, and I'm forever grateful. This month, today's October, so this this month I'll have 6 years of sobriety, and I've only picked up one chip. I tell a lot of people, a lot of people do relapse, but relapse does not have to be part of your story. It doesn't. It's not part of mine. And I feel like I went through all that pain and turmoil and agony to help other women and men, because I do get men and women into detox. So I juggle both, and I do love it. I help men and women, and I get to work with the families. So me working with the families is awesome, because I get to help them, and I get to lead the spouses and parents and all that to other help, as in Al-Anon and different recovery groups. So it's like an all-around help. And I get to do that here at the Sober House too. It's just meeting complete strangers constantly and just being very active in the community, because that's where a lot of people that I get into detox, they reach out to me because I am active. Like, I go to meetings still, and I stay plugged in, and that's where people reach out to me. And I know as long as I keep doing what I'm supposed to be doing and going to my meetings and taking care of my recovery, God will send me those people to bring in.
Fantastic.
It's interesting that you had a good experience in a sober living, and that's what made you want to do more sober livings. Seems like we've had quite a few people on who had such a miserable time in sober living. Had house managers that were dealing drugs, or it was a toxic environment or whatever, and so they wanted to kind of bring about change there. It's cool to hear that you had a good experience, and my curiosity would be a little bit, what was it about that circumstance when you went through sober living that was special to you and different, I guess, and how are you incorporating that into the one that you have now? Like, how is your sober living different?
I feel like that sober, of course it was a nice one, so it's nice. It's, of course, you want to live somewhere where you're going to actually live, because some people come.
Nice meaning like updated and current. Is that what that means?
As a nice, like current and clean, and just somewhere where I would live. And it was on a ranch, and the manager was very involved with us. The structure and the accountability and the chores, all that was amazing. I did incorporate, they had these bonfire meetings there. We start that here in the fall. So we have done that the last couple of years we've been open. And I just loved how they did that. I thought that was awesome, where you could actually have unisex, male and female from the recovery community come and join, just get around a fire and talk about our lives and our character defects, So to me, that was very, that really stood out to me. And I loved that. And I believe so much in sober living, and I think the reasoning is because it's, treatment is wonderful, and you learn so much, and you learn a lot about the disease, and that's where you kind of get clear-headed. But it's like what you do when you get out. So then you get out, and then you have kind of like a step down. You have the freedom, but then you learn how to build like healthy relationships with women. And I'm still like really good friends with one of the women that I stayed there with, and she's still sober as well. And I just loved it. I thought that was a very, for me, it played such a significant role in my life and helped me so much. I just okay, we need this in Texas, because there wasn't very many here. So
cool.
Because we've heard on the show that, people will come on and talk about, kind of that difference between a really good sober living and how do people know when it's a really good sober living? But it sounds like you've been instrumental in really creating several and, building the foundation for a sober living that can be supportive and helpful in that, in that outpatient setting. So I love that. I got tons of questions, but let's take a second and touch in with, with Jenifer. Jenifer, give a little bit of your background of how you ended up in this industry and where your energy goes.
The reason why I got into the industry is Rachel. We were actually compadres at our local meeting here, and women in the rooms they're fierce. They're hard. Usually the men have this great fellowship, and women are like, ew, she's pretty. Like, where'd she come from? We are so, just catty like that. Rachel, of course, is beautiful. Y'all can't see her. But I just thought, well, I don't know, when she spoke, it was real and raw. Hopefully the same for me. I just went for my gut, and I had my share of the agony and misery, the self-induced, which we learned later down the road. So, we finally had an opportunity. I guess God put us together because she invited me to go to a convention. And if you're in recovery, then it's a yes program. So you just say yes. So we ended up going to CETA convention here in Houston, had a really good time. And since we got in the car, we have not stopped talking. We've just been best friends since. Actually, her wedding's coming up, and she's marrying a dude in the program. So really excited about that. Brother-in-law is what I call him.
Congrats.
Yeah, so life is really good, but it took a lot to get me here. So she opened the sober living. Their first house manager didn't work out so well, and that's pivotal, that leadership role there. And I was in a situation where life is good. My son is raised. I was available. So they're like, how would you like to? And I'm in recovery. So, and I'm a professional, and, to be able to go and show those girls that not only can you be recovered, you can be successful and happy. And I dated in recovery, so they got to see me do that. I did every suggestion that you gave me, I did. I didn't date for the first year, actually, almost 2 years. So, yeah, to get me here into the room prior to that, I ended up running their house for about 16 months. It never was my plan. Sober living was not part of my story, simply because there wasn't one available in College Station. Now there are. There's actually a couple of Oxford houses. Mm-hmm. So there's no privately owned, gorgeous, awesome houses like theirs, which was nice. It's nice to have this nice environment to recover in. My rehab, because I did the whole rehab, inpatient, outpatient, the whole deal. And then I would have gone to sober living if we would have had that available. But mine was gorgeous. It was like rolling hills, hill country. Like I had been working so hard and working really against myself, that I was exhausted, and I was, the breadwinner for my family, never took vacations, the typical American overworker, middle-class family that doesn't have money for vacation, so I was exhausted and just on this hamster wheel of modern living. And, it was everything that I needed and more, that break and that beautiful environment to recover, to really take that time to look at myself. That's why it worked for me, well, other than, I was willing, and it was time, and I had ruined my life. I did have the whole drinking and driving with my child, but I actually drank, drove, went drinking, doing karaoke with the professionals that I work with. We do that in the medical field. We drink and drive, and you get in trouble, you will go to jail. And I actually went to jail in my scrubs. And I developed a rapport with my coworkers and my boss that, they knew that really it could happen to anybody, and that kept me drunk for another year and a half after I got in trouble. Because I thought, this can happen to anybody. Everybody drinks and drives, doctors, surgeons, everybody. So, I used that to my advantage for a while.
Justified drinking.
Yeah.
Well, there has to be a reason, right? There's always a reason, and we can figure it out, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah. And when you get rid of those, good Lord, just life is so much better. Nobody wants to hear your excuses. Nobody. And life is so much better this way. I just show up and, keep my side of the street clean. I love people that speak my language. Because other people, laymen, are like, what the heck are you talking about? My street's clean, it's amazing, the camaraderie, the fellowship that we have. Being able to work in their house was amazing. The very first client we had, she was a little turd burglar. She'll admit it. She 10-4. So in 3 days, she'll have 2 years. We never thought she would get a year sober.
But she stayed written up like we have to, where there's a lot of structure and accountability.
She was my first one.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow, what have I gotten myself into? And then you have rich women, so they're extra bougie and horrible sometimes.
When you're stuck in your ways.
So many adventures.
Yeah. When you're
so
stuck
many
in your
adventures.
ways, and drinking for so long, and there's no consequences. That's what keeps them out.
Yeah. So Rachel, the co-owner, Kim, she is like the mama. Come here, let me hug you, love you until you die. Oh, well, not really, because she's really intelligent. She works the program too. She is a LCDC. But then you got Rachel, who's kind of like in your face, tell you, but then she'll love you as in just one second after. And then me, I was kind of like the fine balance between the two.
Yeah.
Rough, strict, like I'm not gonna.
I don't sugar. I can't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Sugarcoating will kill you. You know.
I don't. Yeah, because I'm a one-chip wonder as well. I had to go all the way down, so I was able to give that experience. But yeah, we made a fine team, and I started school, so I've not been back to our Monday meetings, but I miss it so much. So I still try to stay connected, but I haven't done so well lately.
And she's standing in my wedding.
Nice. Very nice. That's exciting. I mean, those are huge milestones, right? To do recovery is important, and you've got to both have children and do recovery with children, which moms often have to do, and that becomes very challenging to try and do it. Rachel, I heard you say that your husband your past husband for years was not sober, and the fact that you could that you could stay sober in that environment says an awful lot for your commitment, because boy, I don't know too many people. That's usually why they relapse, is because it just feels hopeless.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard, but I clung to AA, and all I know is like it honestly helped my sobriety. I know I didn't want to be anything like that anymore. Yeah. It was like a spitting image of, I was like, man, that was me. So it's love and tolerance, and the Serenity Prayer got me through so much. And I was like, man, this is a toxic marriage. I'm so glad I'm not drinking right now, because I would be back in jail. And I'm too bougie for jail. A little too bougie for that.
Because I know I felt like so small whenever I called my son, because he was 16 whenever I wrecked. So I wrecked my car and injured a lady. I didn't tell y'all that. So I was in real big trouble, 3rd-degree felony trouble, 2 to 10 years in prison. And I'm not a prison type of girl either.
She's so
my son was trying to make me feel better, and he was like, hey, Piper, because I was just broken. Something broke that day. I was black, although I easily got over it and went back to drink, because that was my solution. I was black and blue, and, but he tried to make me feel better. Y'all know Piper from Orange is the New Black. She's the preppy girl. Okay, that was me. So he was trying to make me feel better, but it wasn't better. It didn't get better until I gave it up and just stopped fighting and float, like stop, surrender, which I'm real good about not surrendering today too. So I have to go through that X amount of pain until I get the result, and hit my knees, which I've been real good about doing recently, because life is tough these days, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I think you're right. Life's tough for everybody, and I think to assume, it's so easy to look outside of ourselves and go, oh man, that person has such a great life and they're so blessed and they don't have any problems, and that's just a lie. If there's somebody out there that doesn't have problems, it's not true, right? It's not true, because everybody has problems. They might be hiding it, they might be in denial of it, but everybody has problems. They are not getting smaller. That's my experience. I think you guys are agreeing with me on that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, everybody has a bag of poop.
Yeah.
That's what my first counselor in rehab said. Everybody has a bag of shit. Yeah. I can't say that, but, she was a gorgeous professional. And you would think automatically, she's perfect. So yeah, we're real quick to see that. Just like we're real quick to, not be grateful and not look at what we have, which is, thank God for recovery, because we get to live that life. Mm-hmm. And we are real prone to write a gratitude list. I do one daily. But,
the lack of gratitude is the biggest blessing blocker there is. I love that quote, and I will say that quote until I'm 95.
It's true.
A bling ass, cane.
But you have to practice it in order to really understand, because for years and years, you hear people say things like that, and it's like right over the top of your head. It's like, I don't understand. Right, okay. I'm grateful. I have some good stuff, but really the thoughts in our head, right, they're based on all the hard stuff. Man, Rachel had it so easy, and Jennifer was so much better than I am. But, those thoughts in our head, but when we can get to the gratitude piece, it's huge, right? because we attract it to us. And so when you can see it, then you can see more of it, and it becomes bigger. And you're right, it's life-changing, absolutely life-changing.
Oprah said it too. She said, you write 5 gratitudes a day, it will change your life.
It's true. It does. Jenifer, I'm curious. You're a nurse. You've got a professional skill, and usually in the medical industry, when you've had DUIs, when you've had things like that, you usually lose your licensures. How have you ended up getting back on track where you want to be?
So that is very interesting because it was HE double hockey sticks to go through. But I think my testimony is that you do what the next right thing, and you leave the result to God or something else bigger than you, and it will be okay. It may not be what you think or wanted or foresaw, but it will be okay. I actually got to keep my license, not only keep it, but I had 0 punitive action on my license because I had a lot of people that loved me, a lot of people that saw my heart, that saw that, I really just made some bad decisions, and I did some things that sick people did. Anytime I had a horrible thing happen, whether it was an argument with my husband or husband, I was drunk. Anytime I raised my voice at the boys, I was drunk, and it's just crazy because that's not the kind of person that I really am, the person that I was intended to be. So you clean up, and I think I clean up pretty good. But my testimony is really in my career, I've excelled. I mean, I've been given a promotion. I get to teach patients. The recovery is very synonymous with what they're going through. So I teach patients about chronic kidney disease, and I teach them treatment options. But really the first step is accepting their diagnosis. And then we move forward with, taking action and developing a plan and, treating that spiritual side of you, because body, mind, spirit is very equally distributed. I mean, they're equally, 1/3 part is as important as your physical part, because your kidneys don't work. If you're not in a position where you can think positively about it and have the will to live, you won't live. So it's just really cool, and I'm really honored to do it. I wake up every day, asking to be of help to somebody, and that's not because of me, that's because of the program. Some days I do it better than others because I am human, but my goal is, I'm right now back in school after 21 years in LVN and settling as a licensed vocational nurse. I promised God that I would get my RN if I got to keep my nursing license, that 911 prayer. Because I was terrified, that's my livelihood. And he let me, so I'm back in school.
That's fantastic.
So I would like to work in the addiction recovery world as an RN. I would love to be able to help transfer somebody, fly them to treatment and, watch them medical detox them, be their nurse. I mean, how cool would that be to be your nurse and I'm in recovery? So,
Girl,
that's awesome. That's quite a vision. I know, as you talked about that surrender thing, right? That surrender, these people that got kidney failure, have to do dialysis, they have to accept that this is their life now, and this is going to be part of their life. And I listened to Rachel say, I had to admit I'm an alcoholic. And I will tell you right now, when I hear those words as a therapist, I'm a this or I'm a that, I'm like, that's a label, and I don't want to put that on you. But at the same time, sometimes you have to wear the label in order to accept what is reality around that label, right? So I still struggle with it when people say, I'm a this or I'm a that. No, you're a human being first. Be a human being first. Talk about what that means to you, though, to be able to say, I'm an alcoholic and this is my illness.
For me, it's like being an alcoholic. It's like I was defeated by alcohol. I am an alcoholic. I cannot put that, I have an allergy to it. I feel like I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm not recovered though. There's so much into it, but I can see somebody outside looking in and be like, oh, well, you're labeling yourself. Well, it's a part of me and I can accept that, and I don't have any shame in that. I actually wear it as like almost not like a badge, but like I'm a grateful alcoholic, because there's no way I would have be where I'm at now if I wasn't an alcoholic. You know, so I guess it's just kind of how it's perceived, and my perception is I just look at it as gratitude. When I was able to accept that, then I've been given so freely the gift of the program, you know, by working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, sponsoring other women, working with other women. So I kind of look at it as like, yes, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm a recovering alcoholic. You know, I get to help others. You know, that's my testimony, and I'm okay to say that. When I just first got out of treatment and sober living, I didn't want anybody to know I went. Very ashamed. Yeah. You know, a lot of guilt, shame, remorse. But until I started actively working those steps, once you process the guilt, shame, remorse, resentment, the harm you've done to others, it's like so freeing. So it's like, yes, I am an alcoholic. You know, I am. And as long as I tell myself that every single day, you know, I mean, that's the only step I have to get right. I can't pick up a drink. I'm not going to let it identify me, you know, but it is a part of me, right? I'm an alcoholic, but I also have all these other characteristics about me. I'm a mother, you know, I'm a good friend. I have all these things. But ultimately, my recovery is very, you know, God, recovery, my family is everything to me.
Well, I think the interesting piece is, and I'm going to come back to that gratitude piece that we were talking about, is that without the alcoholism, you would, and having to go through recovery, you would have never come to a place to be able to serve and help people where you're at right now, right? The growth along that journey is ginormous. And we don't get to grow and become better without a challenge, without an obstacle, without something in our way. And we all have those. The question is, are we going to take the steps to improve ourselves every day? And so I totally agree with you. I just had to get your take on it.
Yeah, that's my take. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, I can't do that because I'm alcoholic. You know what? I'm going to go out country dancing and be around alcohol just like all of y'all, because we do. I'm not going to, you know, in the big book it says we're not a glum lot, because we're not. You know, and I'm also not going to live in a bubble. You know, I'm not going to let it define me that way or use it as an excuse for anything. But
You'd still be drinking if you were in that mentality.
Yeah, I can't. But I do use it, and I have no shame in it. And it's really opened up a lot of doors and to help a lot of people. And I feel like that's my purpose.
It is like a badge of honor. You're like, I'm in recovery, and there are people.
We need like a recovery Superman shirt.
That's
I
right.
still need my shirt, bro. But anyway.
It's in my car.
What was I gonna say? Oh, a badge of honor. You know, there's a meme, and I love these like recovery memes. One, it says the elevator to sobriety is broken. Must use the steps. I was like, oh, I like it. You know,
that's good.
But it's like I'm in recovery, and no, I was gonna say like dating. There are some guys that are like, ooh, I don't know. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me at all, because I'm like, and bye. Like, next. Because if you can't deal with that, it is the most important thing. But if you're cool and you actually understand that people do have struggles, and you're not a, you know, D word, douche, then, okay, we'll chill. Because it's really, like, intimate partner or not, even as a friend, I don't want to hang around people that look at other people like that. And I wanted to say another thing, in that group where me and Rachel met, you know, there's mentors that you have, AA or not. This guy, he is so intelligent. Every time he speaks, it's like God is just speaking. But he said, and it was all dramatic and slow when he said it. It was Chris. He goes, you know, the best lessons in life are barely tolerable. The ones that you barely get through, those are the greatest gems. Like, that's when you learn, that's when you grow. And it was so true, because I was going through the stuff. I mean, I just got off of probation. Last month, Rachel? Like the end of July, I think. And so that was a 7-year struggle. Like, I can go into a bar now, like, without, you know, worrying about the law. But yeah, it's so weird, because like, I'm not that girl, but that's where alcohol took me. That's where alcohol and drugs, really, because I'm an addict of anything. Give me a piece of chocolate now. I mean, cross addiction's real too, you know?
Oh yeah. Really, chocolate? Do we have to call chocolate an addiction? Come on. It feels like it
balance.
sometimes.
Addiction or in recovery or not, life is about balance and we're all trying to find it. So, we're not that special, but we do think we are.
Yeah. Well, I think you are. I love to hear you talk about, dating and those relationships, because relationships, when you're in recovery, right, you've got to give that a fair amount of time to do your own healing work before you can go into a relationship, which is probably the hardest thing we do as human beings. But I love to hear how open you are about, if a guy starts saying, oh, I don't know if I can handle you being in recovery, it's like that says an awful lot about them. It doesn't say anything about you except that you've learned to be open, you've learned to be accepting, you've learned to figure out that we are human beings first. We make mistakes and we can learn to show up better. All of that stuff, right? And so when someone says something like that, you're like, okay, next, please, because...
Exactly. Because like I said, I don't even want to be your friend.
Yeah, we're not in the same place anymore.
I do wish you well, though.
Yeah. You haven't been through enough hard stuff yet, right?
Yeah.
So
humility. Good Lord, I have a necklace that I bought at a retreat. It says stay humble because, the struggle's real.
Yeah.
Ego, it just comes right on back,
Yeah. Well, we're people. We're people first, and we have to remember. And I have to remind myself all the time, Shelley, that word that just, that phrase that just went through your head about that person over there, that was not kind. We are not like that. Check yourself and come back and say something nice now and think about that in reality, because the stuff still comes up, right? Thoughts still come into our mind and we've got to be able to catch them there before they start to show up in our relationships.
Oh, my number one character defect is judginess. I will judge you. And I'm asking people don't judge me. That's just the ironic,
Well, as human beings, we have to judge. We judge every day. Am I safe on this street? Do I want to buy this product or do I want to buy this product? We're judging all day long, and now we're saying, please don't judge people. So my motto is, I heard somebody share this one time, is don't judge me because I sin differently than you.
Right.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I remind myself of that often. It looks different. You're different than I am, but we're all the same. We're really all the same.
That's why I like working with, I work one-on-one with doctors, talk to them all day, every day, and they're nephrologists. They're, even more specialized, like surgeons. It doesn't bother me to work with them because I understand we're humans. You put your pants on the same, one leg at a time, maybe, unless you're like really weird and, I don't know, extra. But yeah, I just see, hey, we have something in common as this patient, and we need to deal with them. But I love them. They're cool. I actually work with a lot of cool people. So very lucky to do my job.
Awesome. I hear you talk a lot about your testimony and your spirituality. Talk about the role that has played in your recovery.
I'm actually sharing my story tonight. I hate it. Oh, there's one thing I'm not, which is a speaker. It's not my forte. But they tell us, you're going to do this. They say, well, first of all, hey, Jennifer, will you share your story? And I say, yeah, even though I'm just mortified of all the stuff that I drank about, in essence, is what I'm going to tell you, that who wants to go do that? But really understanding that it's
no idea what happened.
Me. We missed you.
Everything just went shh.
Yeah, that internet's not great. We're talking about spirituality and, sharing our testimony. I was saying I'm sharing my story tonight, which you're going to miss again.
Where are you sharing your story at?
Willis.
Oh.
We're having an eating meeting at 7, and then we're going to have the speaker meeting.
They love
these
tell me that.
country places. No, but I do it because it's not about me. It's using this horrible thing that happened in the hopes of maybe I can help one person, just like a teacher. Maybe I can help one of the children that I come across. The past is your greatest possession,
Mm-hmm.
Number one, don't freaking drink and drive. Uber wasn't as, actually we didn't have Uber back then. It was 2014. I definitely would have Ubered. No, I wouldn't have. Because, I thought I was exempt. It's not going to happen to me. I'm not like you. And, alcoholics were like 28 days on, Sandra Bullock. That was it was a movie. It's like there was some weird wall that, that couldn't be me. And by the way, I come from an alcoholic family. All of my people are alcoholic except for Kelsey, holding the wine bottle here. But I swore that I would never be my mom, and I walked right into my mother's shoes. She's still a daily drinker. And we were talking about, well, spirituality is the single most important thing. From it stems the only hope of recovery. My God has changed, and that's okay. I love it. I've simplified it, that whole thing. The spiritual program of recovery, hanging out with these guys, that's it. That's my church every Sunday morning at 10. So like I said, I've simplified it. It works. I'm sober. I can, help other people with it. And that's it. Without it stems the only hope of recovery.
Well, and you say it's simple, and I think it is simple, but it requires an awful lot of effort to make those changes, right?
Oh, we make it real complicated. That's why I've decided, let's just simplify all that. And, if I can hit my knees, that's one of the greatest things I can do each day. And that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's hard. For some reason, my ego just puffs up. I don't know, when I sleep or something.
We have an overworking brain. Our brains just constantly go. So they're like, our brains are always at hard work. So I
gotta go. I gotta go do this.
Everything is complicated. That's why I say it's a program of action, and I really believe in like acting your way into right thinking. The more you do it, the more it becomes a habit.
Yeah, don't be thinking about all that. Let's just show up and do this.
Do it.
Guess what?
So like,
the result, leave the result, and then just we'll deal with that later. That's a whole lot of what we do.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, don't worry about that. You ain't that important.
Lately, I've had to just do it. Just like not even if I would just do it. Like some of the old things that they've taught you, the very simple things they taught you at the very beginning of recovery, like just do it, instead of just thinking about it.
I make my bed every day because of the sober house. Here. Every single day. Because I had to lead by example. And I see the benefit, Before that, I didn't make my bed. I'm like, there's no use in that. But it's like living a disciplined life, and it's not complicated, It's really not. You just
we have a complicated I got a complicated order.
Well, and you say it's funny because I listen to
stupid. She's always talking about movies.
I listen to you guys talk about how it's not complicated, because it's not, but it requires a tremendous amount of effort to change a vehicle or an object moving in one direction and change it to go in another direction, and that requires a tremendous amount of effort. We've got to change our neural pathways. We've got to change how we see the world. We got to change how we think. We have to change our friends. We might have to change our spouses. We have to change our environment. We have to, there's an awful lot of effort and commitment required to make those changes. But it's like having a baby. We forget just how much it took to have that baby, which is why we sometimes do it more than once.
Yeah, well, that's why they're so cute. But, hopefully you can look at us in the, where it doesn't feel as complicated.
Yeah.
And that if you just stick with one of us who has we've gone before you, show up, make your bed, do these simple things, and then it all works out.
It does.
The most important thing is do not take a freaking drink. Do not take a drug, and you have a chance.
It's about rewiring your brain. It's all about our whole thought process is so skewed. It's like rethinking, and I had to do that. I remember sitting in treatment. I'm like, man, I would think one way. I was like crying like constantly. People would talk to me about my daughter, and I'm like, oh, I can't. I'm like away from her. Never been like a day away from her. And I'm like, I either have to like shit or get off the pot. So like, am I going to start thinking a different way and routing my brain, or I'm just going to sit here? So I had to be like, okay, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for me. So I had to look at it like that and change my perspective. And like now you can just tell all the hard work. It really does you rewire.
I'm sure the girls there helped you too, right? Get you through it?
Yes. It was hard.
I still have so many of those relationships as well. Like one girl, she's a teacher and she got her master's, and she's like, Jennifer, I literally was like this getting my master's. She's like, we're smart people. one eye closed, like hammered, but doing it. Like, we are the most intelligent people.
It's true.
And it's so cool when I do judge somebody and they teach me like the most important lesson of the day or whatever. I'm like, yes. Like, God just continues to talk through people to me. But in rehab, those girls helped me for sure. One was a 21 or 22-year-old heroin addict, and she knew the book of recovery like nobody's business. She had been in and out, in and out, in and out. Gorgeous as well. She's sober. She got her degree. She finally got it after 7 attempts in, rehab. It takes what it takes, but a lot of them are well. But when I realized that I could laugh and that I could still have fun with those girls, that was everything for me. Because we love to laugh. We're clowns, constantly laughing.
Constantly making jokes, just being completely, just being so silly all the time.
Like her sponsor, the other owner, like, she's like, we're the people that were dancing on the bar. Like, we are not bored
anymore. She hasn't been my sponsor for over a year now. Girl, where you been?
I know I'm talking about though. I said the co-owner of the house, but anyway, she's like, we are the crazy people.
Oh, that's fantastic. True. But you have to keep that fun, right? Life has to be fun or it's just not worth it. But what I heard you say, and what, maybe not directly say this, but the relationships and that belonging, having a space where you can show up and be who you really are, right? Come with your ugly, come with your beautiful, come with all that is you, and be okay and be accepted there. That's a huge, huge part of recovery, if I'm not mistaken.
100%, because I feel like for so long we felt like we didn't belong anywhere, right? We felt alone in a room full of people. Even if I was drinking, I felt that way,
hiding, isolating,
and to come in somewhere where people understood me and got
like
me,
that.
And just be
like that
self.
Yeah, so crazy.
And just be so transparent and tell you all these horrible things I did, but you loved on me. You said, hey, keep on coming back.
Come on back, ugly. Yeah, take a shower. Some people are like, man, my sponsor told me, just take a shower. Girl, go get your nails done. You better get a pedicure,
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you have to relearn everything and that self-esteem.
Yeah, so that was huge to find that for me, and it's just like the acceptance. And then the fellowship is huge, that's like it's one of the unity, the triangle. So I mean, that's everything that really does. It just so much for you, just to have that person there all the time, and to kind of just belong somewhere where you actually belong. You feel like you've met your tribe. I mean, it's your tribe.
Yeah.
If Rachel were to call me at 2:30 in the morning, I would know something's wrong, and I will be there in just a minute. I'm getting my shoes on. And that's the way it is really with anybody in the room.
Why didn't you pick up this morning at 2:30?
Girl, you didn't call me. She trying to blast me on the radio wave.
I got you at 2:30.
That's how it is. I mean, I've seen it in action. I know that it will be there for me if I ever need it. I don't know, the stranger named Bob in the room, like, he would be there for me. So it's really cool.
Well, it's cool because that's not what we experience or what people experience while they're drinking or drugging. Like, like you said, that you feel alone and you don't belong and you feel like you're different than everybody else and what's wrong with me, and it takes a while for the brain to catch on that these people really do care and they're real and they what they say is what they mean. That takes a while to catch on because we're so low, right? And we feel so horrible about ourselves. So I love to talk about that piece because connection is just huge, right? We know it is. We know more and more that it is, but I think if nothing else, connection does more healing than anything else. So it's kind of cool. And there's a different language. When you start doing healing work, there's a different language. So when you come across somebody that's never done it and you start trying to talk that language and they just give you a deer in the headlights, it's like, you're not my peeps. You're not my peeps. I'm going to love you, but you don't speak my language.
I know. Sometimes we go a little too deep, too fast with like normal people. And
Yeah.
Probably like, wow. And like, we start talking. The stranger you talk, the more spiritual you are. You know?
Isn't that true?
I talk to everybody like I'm in recovery. I got my lady at my OBGYN. Just went there like a month ago. Went in there and talking to her. I'm like, yeah. So I just started talking about the sober house and all that. Well, her daughter, she reached out to me. Her daughter needed help, like major help. And now she's been coming to these meetings and Christine's sponsoring her. See?
Yeah.
That was like
See what we did? See how it works?
Yeah, you thought I was coming in there and talk about my lady parts, but I wasn't.
Right?
That's fantastic. You guys have been great to talk to. It's been so fun to just, chit chat and talk about recovery and your journeys. So thanks for sharing. I know that you guys have done a lot for other people, and so I would love for you to maybe just give a couple of parting words and then a contact information, because someone's going to relate to both or one or both of you, and they're going to want to be able to reach out and get a hold of you. So if you maybe start with Rachel.
Yes, just know that if you're there, I'm here for you. I know I don't know you, but you're not a stranger to me, and I'm always here. You can contact me. You're not alone. It is a we program, and we can do this together. Times are not easy right now, but just know that there is hope, and there is help and hope. So you can contact me probably via email, Rachel, RACHEL, AUSB as in boy, ERN @yahoo.com.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Same for me, exact same. I'm here for you. I no longer work in the sober house, but I am just a phone call away. I don't mind giving my phone number. It's 979-575-6172. If you're rich and you need a date and you don't mind a sober lady, no, I'm just kidding. Otherwise,
And you
because
live in
I married for
Texas.
love. No, I didn't marry for love the first time. Well,
Should I
love
give my
and-
phone number? Do y'all usually have people give their phone number out?
It's a personal preference. We know when someone's
I had
serious.
somebody that stalked me for the longest time. It was terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
great. I forgot about that.
Like
my
police
email-
report and everything.
Oh, Jesus, take the wheel and drive the bus. So my email is 4 Jenifer Oxford. It's Jennifer with one N. So 4 JENIFEROXFORD @gmail. Please don't stalk me.
And you can also
I
find me
will call the law.
and if
I'm
you
on the
also
good
find-
side of the law now, so don't test me.
Also find me on. You can find me on Facebook as well.
All
Oh,
right.
me too.
Yeah.
And Instagram, not
Nice.
TikTok,
Well,
because
I'm not that cool. I don't have Instagram.
We don't know how to do it. We're old. Oh, Rachel's almost 40.
Ooh, we're too old for TikTok. Is that it? Is that how it works?
First of all, I'm 37. She always says this. You're 40. You're 41.
I'm almost 42. Anyway.
Well, you guys are all young pups. You're just young
You
pups.
are such a shish kebab.
Oh, it's been so fun. You guys are fantastic. Thanks for being on today. This is fun. We'll have to catch up soon.
Yes, thank
Thanks for
you.
being on.
So nice meeting y'all.